Hey guys, if you watched my review of the Kreg 320 video, then you'll know that I was lusting after upgrading to the Kreg 720 at some stage. And I think my wife must have watched it because look what she got me for Christmas. Let's check it out. Just to give you a quick heads up, I'm going to be briefly showing you through what comes in the box, then go through the features and how to use the jig. And then I'll talk about some of the not so good things. So be sure to stick around until the end to get the whole picture. As I mentioned, I recently did a review of the Kreg 320, which I've had for a few years now. So I'll put a link to that video in the description if you wanted to check it out after. Spoiler alert, this bad boy is a significant upgrade from the 320. Mine is a 720 Pro version, which comes with the docking station support wings and also includes a face clamp. So just a heads up that there are different specs for the same jig, and if you buy one, the peripheral items may differ slightly. Just to quickly cover what you get, there's the instruction manual, vacuum hose adapter, box of screws, the jig itself with a screwdriver bit, material thickness gauge, bench clamp and docking station support wings. And I think I read somewhere that the hardened steel drill guides come with a lifetime warranty, which is pretty cool. If anyone knows that to actually be true, please let me know in the comments. As with the other Kreg jig, all the materials feel of a high quality and it's a solid bit of kit. Now let's talk about the features. Probably the most unique thing about this jig is the built-in clamping system. It uses the Kreg Auto Max feature, which automatically adjusts the clamping pressure and position based on the thickness of the wood, which means that you don't have to make any adjustments on the jig itself when drilling different thicknesses of material. I've really thought about storage again with this jig. My 320 came in a little box that stored everything I needed and made it easy to just hang on my tool wall when I wasn't using it. This is no exception. For a relatively large jig, the wings fold up neatly. Although I would say that they could have probably spent a tiny bit more money on these clip thingies, as they don't seem the most hard wearing. But I guess they're just for when it's stored, so time will tell how well it holds up over the long term. There's even storage on the back to keep the tool accessories like the drill bit, driver bit and material thickness gauge. It's got this little clamp that attaches to your workbench for a little more support. It works well, but is a bit annoying having to screw it on and off when the jig has such a great clamping mechanism on it. But as simple as it is, it definitely does what it's supposed to do. It accepts anything from 13mm or half an inch to 38mm or about 1.5 inches thick. It's got this grippy stuff on the side that stops it sliding around, which I guess means that the clamp doesn't have to be quite as crazy strong as it would otherwise need to be. That being said, you can tweak the clamping force with this little dial on the side, which is great for those fine adjustments. The drill guides themselves are marked for the centre of the pocket holes and also for common wood dimensions, which is pretty helpful, but perhaps could have been slightly more useful if marked appropriately. However, after a bit of regular use, you soon get used to it. Dust collection fits either side of the jig depending on what works for you, which is another great feature because I've got other tools that only work on one side and it can make things a bit awkward sometimes. I've been really impressed with the dust collection as it leaves virtually no sawdust, which is probably one of the biggest weaknesses of the 320. And as a result, the pocket holes that this jig make are so much cleaner straight away, which saves time in tidying them up with sanding. The docking station support wings then connect using these attachment pins, which are easy enough to set up. In addition to supporting your workpiece, the docking station material support wings have handy little storage compartments inside for those extra things that just never seem to have a home, including this little guy. It's a stop block that just runs on your wing supports and means that you can create repeatable cuts easily without needing to think too much about what you're doing. There's a couple of different configurations you can set this stop block up with, which means that it can either run onto the support wings or close the gap between the wing and the jig itself. Then the wings fold up neatly to allow you to store it easily when it's not in use, or you can screw them permanently to your workbench. If you go for the standard version rather than the Pro version, you don't get the full support wings, but it still has these little extension wings that pull out to help support your jig. And you can open up these to screw it permanently to your workbench if you wanted to as well. Kind of reminds me of a baby bird stretching its wings for the first time. No? Just me? Okay, moving on. Because the clamp automatically adjusts, you simply need to measure out the thickness of your material using this little doohickey and then adjust the stock collar with it like this. The window on the collar and markings on the drill bit make this a really simple process. If your material is a different thickness, then you can use the storage section on the back of your jig to dial in the stock collar. If you're unsure as to what screws to use, then there's a great free resource on the Kreg tool website. Just Google Kreg, find my screw and you'll see it, but I'll also link to it below for you. Then you just insert your wood. The great thing about this jig is that you can have it stood up like this and simply insert the workpiece to drill the holes, or for larger pieces such as plywood sheets, it sits on its end and the docking station support wings detached to keep your workpiece at the correct height and appropriately supported. If you don't have the support wings, you could use a couple of scraps at the right thickness to support it instead. Generally though, I still tend to find myself going for it in the upright position most of the time. There's these markings on the jig that you can align with the centre of your wood to select the correct drill guides to space your pocket holes evenly. As you can see here, you have these 3 different settings and they set the holes out in different locations depending on where you drill. There are no markings for the actual measurements that these are based on, which is a little confusing initially, but when you start using it, it does become fairly intuitive quite quickly, as it's just a case of lining up the centre of your board with the appropriate marking, and then you'll soon see if the drill guides are too wide or narrow. To drill your pocket holes, just insert the drill bit and get the drill up to full speed before it hits the wood. Then just let the bit do the work. I have to say that the holes are far tidier than my 320, so I'm not sure if this is due to the clamping pressure, dust collection, maybe how sharp the drill bit is, but they're the neatest results I've ever had. Now, this is an entirely independent review, and I promised at the beginning that I'd also outline a few of the negatives that I found with it. Admittedly, there aren't a ton, and I do love this jig, but I think it would be useful for you to get the whole picture. Firstly, the clamp to hold it to the workbench is a screw clamp, which is a little bit cumbersome when attaching it on and off things. I can't help but think that the Automax feature would be good here too. You could even do what I've experimented with here and just take the rubber end off a squeeze clamp and attach that in. Then there's the hooks for the docking station wings. It feels like they should be better quality as mentioned earlier, but one thing that has happened to me once or twice is the hooks popping off when I open the storage section. This is totally my fault, as I hadn't properly turned the hooks to fully open position. Perhaps it was a design feature for them to pop off, so as not to damage the storage container, but who knows. The last couple of things that were a little disappointing is that this is the Pro set. I would have thought it would include absolutely everything, but there are still a couple of additional extras that can be added on. This is actually a plus, as it enhances the jig so it can be more versatile, but what I'm not so keen on is the price for these extra items. There's the micro pocket drill guide insert that's designed for drilling into thinner material, which comes in at around £40 or $60. Generally though, I wouldn't tend to do anything with pocket holes much thinner, so probably won't end up getting it, but who knows. Then there's the plug cutter, which does seem extremely useful. This would be cool to have included in the Pro set, but as this one comes in at around £60 or $80, it's fairly steep, so not something I'd be adding immediately, but might go on my Christmas list for next year. Now, if you're looking at what you might want to do for your first pocket hole project, then I've got some free plans linked below, along with links to the jigs. However, you'll need to adapt the thickness of the legs and the stretchers on the plans if you're going to use the 720, as the larger 44mm or 2-inch material doesn't quite fit the jig. If you want to see my review of the starter jig, the Kreg 320, then watch this video here. And if you want to watch the project build video for the free plans, then watch this one right here. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos. See you next time.